Thank you for joining me for episode 60, Numerology with Raymond Durr. How you doing, Ray?
Doing well, doing well. How about yourself?
Doing great. Um, you know, everybody knows I'm into astrology and all of that stuff. I also started to I'm I have Gemini energy, so I am someone who is curious. And now that I'm deep off into astrology, I started to branch off into other divinations. Um, uh, like the last year or so, I've been I dove off into tarot
Okay.
because I was watching a podcast, listening to a podcast one day, and the host said something to the tone of, without astrology, there's no tarot. And I was like, what? So I went and bought a deck that day, and that same day, with my knowledge of astrology, I had the whole deck broken down. There's a guy who we both know, Sun Moon.
Yeah.
And Sun Moon, we had many conversations, shout out to Sun Moon, many conversations about astrology. Then one day he comes in my stream and he starts talking about this guy, Ray with the numbers. This dude is on point. This dude is this. This dude is that. And so I'm a trust but verify type of person. And so I had to come see for myself. I can't just take his word for it.
Yeah.
And you saw me, that's when you kind of saw me start hanging out in your room, just observing, listening, and learning and all of that stuff. The truth be told, although I'm deep off into astrology, the first report I actually looked up was my numerology report. Somebody had told me about I was a cusp of beauty, and while researching that, I fell on this website that was talking about numerology. So I kind of pulled up, but it didn't really. I mean, it resonated. The information resonated, but for me to sit up there and learn it and stuff, I didn't feel no call to the numbers.
Yeah.
So I kept it pushing and all of that. But I am curious on other things. I used to hang out in tarot room reading, readers' rooms, watching, just, even though I didn't study it or anything into that. But with all that being said, I came to your room and I was curious. You were teaching the people, which I did, and so I decided I wanted to talk to you more candidly. And so my first question to you, Ray, is where'd you come from? Where was you born and all of that?
I grew up in Bellwood, Illinois, which is pretty much about 20 minutes away from the west side of Chicago.
All right. You've been in that area all your life?
For the most part, yeah, been in Illinois for all my life. West suburbs. Yeah, pretty much all of my life. I venture, maybe like 30, 40, 50 minutes at one point away from the city, but yeah, it's pretty much the same area.
All right. Have any siblings?
I do. Which is a wild story in itself. So my mother, so I have 5 siblings. I'm the oldest.
All right.
I'm the oldest. I have 1 brother and I have 4 sisters. But the wild part about our story is that none of us was raised together. All of us was kind of raised in separate homes. The closest one is not the sister that's right underneath me, but it's another one, right behind her. that we had the closest relationship, because even though we wasn't raised in the same home, we was raised inside of the same family.
Well,
Yeah, it's
that makes my next question more interesting.
yeah.
What was your mom and dad's relationship like?
Well, so they weren't together. They had me at a very young age. My father was 17, my mom was 15. Um, yeah, I was raised by my grandparents, my father's parents. They took me in when I was 3 years old. Um, both my parents, mom and dad, suffered had challenges with drug abuse, substance abuse. My mom, she actually died in 2019 from a drug overdose. Um, so yeah, so for the most part, I really didn't. Growing up, I didn't have the best relationship with either one. I did see my dad more, but he was in and out of jail a lot, and my mom she was in and out of prison as well. So I really didn't have the best relationship. I saw them when I saw them. Even though my grandparents, they kept an open, they of course they kept an open door for me to have that relationship. But later understanding, people have their own battles, and they have their own challenges.
How would you describe your childhood and childhood home?
Grateful. I definitely say gratitude. Grateful for it. My grandparents, they were amazing. They definitely did with what they had.
So you were brought up by your grandparents?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. My grandfather was a minister, preacher, pastor of a church for over 20 years, where I learned, I used to go to church with him as a Christian, with the church. And then, of course, my grandma, they definitely took care of me. Inside of my home, chaos. I think, it wasn't the worst, but looking back at some moments, I think one thing about it is, when you look back, when you're around the same people who are enduring those same type of troubles, everything look normal. It's normalized. But as you get older and you start to actually experience more of the world, and you look back at it, you start to look at, hey, some of this shit went right. So, excuse my language.
Yeah, it's all good, man.
Hey, yeah. A lot of it went
feel
right.
Feel free to say what you want.
Yeah, so it just not, and so I had, along with my parents even having substance abuse, I had uncles that stayed in the home with me that had substance abuse issues. And so, it was a battle, it was times I really didn't like being at home, having things stolen from me. Yeah, it was just, looking back at it, it was some traumatic experiences, but like I said, I had the most loving grandparents who made sure I had everything I needed, and who did everything in their power to take care of me. Can't control everybody in the household, and they were just, those were their children. So, they worked with what they had.
All right. You just touched a little bit on my next question.
Yeah.
What religion or faith was you brought up in?
Yeah, Baptist. My church was in the heart of Inglewood, Chicago. If you heard of Inglewood,
LA, Inglewood in LA. Well,
yeah, the south side of Chicago, one of the roughest neighborhoods in Chicago. That was my church. But as growing up, I didn't know anything.
Is that like what Cabrini Green?
Yeah. Well, the Cabrini Green project was a little further away, but yeah, I know most of the young rappers now. If you hear about the Lil Durks, and a lot of them grew up in the
like 63rd and 64th.
Yeah.
Are you from 63rd?
Yeah, my church was actually on 60. Our church was actually on 62nd.
Oh,
yeah, 62nd and Laughlin. So, but yeah, I grew up in the Christian church. Grew up as Baptist. And being honest, I went to the church, and especially my grandfather being a pastor, right? I was at the Sunday school. I played the drums for the choir. I was in the choir at one point, and but just being honest, a lot of it didn't, I never felt it. it was very different, right? I see people I see people catching the Holy Ghost. I'll see people, at times speaking in tongues. And I used to always have this little dark, I always used to have this feeling like, man, I hope I'm not disappointing my grandfather, right? It'll be people, kids my age that know all the books of the Bibles. They'll know scriptures. There'll be all these different things. And I used to sometimes I did used to have this like guilt, like, man, I hope my grandfather's not disappointed in me because, like I remember one time we went to a visit another church, and all the kids that came with me, I saw them like they were like it was a service, and I saw all of them like speaking in tongues, they were all crying and all this, and I'm like, and I was the only kid still sitting in a stand, like just standing there watching everybody else. So
like this ain't it.
Yeah, but I was like, man, it wasn't that it didn't feel right. I just thought, man, I'm like, do I not believe in God? What's going on? But it's like everything that I was in the Bible, the way I was able to envision it, the stories I was being told, I just couldn't believe, so the Bible for me, I just, I needed to, later on, I knew it was more symbolism as opposed to actual, what was actually being told in the Bible. But at that age, I wasn't connecting the two.
Well, did you get a copy of my questions? Because my next question is, are you still in it? If not, when, what, and why did you leave?
No, I don't associate with any religion. Me learning as the Life Path 7 that my job, a part of my responsibility to see things from all perspectives. And, and that means I can't necessarily be anything, but I have to understand it. And so I don't associate with any religion. When did I leave? I technically stopped going to church around the age of maybe 17, 18. I actually stopped going. And there were times, like even in adulthood, that I would go visit to another church. One thing my grandfather used to tell me is like, look, you ain't got to be in my church, but be in somebody's church. And so I would try to find another church, to go to, but it just still like, I don't know. I just never connected to it. So
did you try a church in like another denomination?
No, I never did. I never did. Even looking at Islam, like it was, I did like some things about Islam, but I'm like, I never made that step. I never made the choice to even venture out. So, I just came to my own understanding, and that started happening around, I want to say these past couple years. These past couple years, I just found my own understanding. I just found spirituality. For me, not having to be inside of a church and doing things like not even reading the Bible, me just, prayer, meditation, being out in nature, like, and just going through my own experiences, right? I was able to find that God inside myself, and also making sure I had and finding that connection to the Most High through those experiences.
How did your fam and the people around you take you not going and not,
I mean, I don't really know.
I
don't really know.
It's not really your problems either, right?
Yeah. I mean, there was one time, right? I think that was more self-judgment on my part. I remember one time I was at my apartment, and in the middle of my, and one of my cousins had came over while I was watching, like I was on YouTube watching one of the tarot readers do like a collective reading, and and I think that self-judgment kind of kicked in, and I just paused it, what I'm saying, while she was there. Yeah. And then once she left, I turned it back on. But I think it was more so a lot of self-judgment, and I later asked her about it, like, I mean, do you reject me, or make me feel like, do you feel any type of way that I'm not Christian, or that I don't associate with the religion anymore? She was like, no, be who you want to be. So I think it was more so judgment. I don't know if they do look at me any different. If they do, they haven't said anything about it, I'm just gonna be me. So, you can either choose to accept it or
have
not.
they asked you for a numerology reading?
No, they have not.
You don't think that say something?
Yeah, it does. It does a little bit. I think it definitely does. But I don't let it. I don't let it get to me. I think I think the part that does is like at times I do want them like to be able, like if I'm at an event, I do want them to come support me at an event, things of that nature. But I just learned to say, you know what, I can't put that expectation on them. I got to do what I got to do regardless. And then maybe it even some part of it is like, they might be feeling biased, might be feel some type of bias towards it. Like, well, if I get to telling them about a numerology reading and start reading off their numerology, maybe they think it's just because I already know who they are, and I'm just going off of my experiences with them. So I kind of rather not do a reading on them, just because like if you want to read, go see somebody else.
When you did learn numerology, did it explain some stuff about the people you was around?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I started, and that's how I started, and that's how once I started learning it, I mean, that's how I, started analyzing the patterns.
Wait. Before you dive off into numerology,
yeah.
I'm gonna let you go. Is numerology your first divination practice that you jumped into? Was that your first interest?
Yeah, it was. I think my, I got into the crystals a little bit. That was the first thing I really got into. But then it was numerology. I was interested in tarot. I was interested in tarot readings. I was watching different people do tarot readings. I had got an Akashic Records reading, tarot reading. But yeah, when I started learning numerology, that's when I'm like, oh, I like this. And
what do you think? Why do you think numerology resonates with you? What do you think called you to numerology? Was you always into numbers?
You know what? That's funny. I was the kid. I remembered everybody's age. I always remember everybody's birthday. You can ask me about anybody in the family's birthday or age, and I always remember it. I remember everybody's telephone number. Anything that had to do with a number, I will remember it.
Are you good with math?
I was okay with math. I was okay with math. Like, don't get me wrong. Like in school, like you teach me some math, and yeah, I learned it. Like algebra, I was good at it. I just didn't like doing the homework. So, if you ask me about my math grades, my math grade probably one of the best. But yeah, actually doing math, I was always pretty good at math.
All right. So you now looking back, you see you always had an affinity for numbers.
Yeah.
You just didn't know at the time that you was going to be in the numerology.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what do you have to tell me about numerology? If somebody never heard about numerology, where do you begin? How do you explain it to them?
Well, one is the study of numbers, and then we have to understand numbers they just have different meanings behind them. I don't think people see how much numbers affect them. So, right, we can see let's
Imagine when you say meaning.
Yeah.
Would you say could I ask meaning and vibration is similar? Would you say numbers have vibrations?
Yeah, energetic vibrations, absolutely. Yeah. But even with like for instance, right, I would tell a person, right, when you see a certain number, it can affect and change your whole mood, right? Think like you could say like it can be like, hey, you're talking about somebody invites you somewhere. Well, how many people are over there? Depending on that number, is going to affect how you feel if you want to go over there or not. Well, it's a couple of us over here. Some people gonna be like, okay, that's cool. I like a smaller environment. I don't like a lot of people. You say 30 people, some people gonna get a little anxious.
Yes.
Right. But then also you think about it, you look at your number on your bank account. Some people gonna get happy when they see the number in their bank account. Somebody gonna get upset. You see that you don't overdrew your bank account. It's gonna make you feel away. But then there's the metaphysical properties.
Speaking of bank account, it also depends on where the zero is placed at in the
bank account. Yeah, how many zeros up in there? That's
I mean, do you have zeros behind the first number, or is it zero and that's it?
Right. So it's and so the most thing I start let's start with the number one, right? The number one, it's a single, right? You can see the number one is one person, and then it goes off there. And it's once you start adding the metaphysical properties, well, when you one person, when you yourself, you're alone. That's what the number represents, being alone. But it also represents independence, meaning there's nobody else around you. That means you have to do for yourself, right? And if you have nobody else around you, that means you have to only work with what you have, right? You have to be assertive. You have to make a decision. You don't have nobody else to look out for you, which is pretty much all about the number one, is being self-reliant. So, and that's just the basis when it comes to the number one. But it's the numbers, to me, they tell a story, right? And even if I went to study the Bible, I can make that, right? The number one, Adam. First, God made Adam, right? The number one. Adam was by himself, then there was Eve, right? And Eve is all in the number, which is now it's two people, right? Where the number two is all about learning how to work with partnerships, cooperating with others, right? Teamwork, relationships, learning to empathize, right? So that's just the basics. So when someone starts asking about numerology, that's pretty much how I lead. Numbers hold vibrations based off your name, your date of birth, right? Based those vibrations, you attract those vibrations to you, right? But you're going to attract the lower vibration and you're going to attract higher vibration. It don't matter. If a person holds that number, you're going to attract it to it. Now, depending on how you let that person influence you, determines if you're going to go to a lower vibration or a higher vibration.
Your reaction to said meeting with person.
What's that?
Your reaction, hey, you attract, like birds of a feather flock together.
Yeah.
So when the flock get together, how do you let that flock influence you?
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's certain things, and there's also certain ones that's going to challenge you. Again, like two numbers are about the bully. The number 8 and the number 9 are about the bully. Those are bully numbers, right? People that are going to try to dominate the wheel. The thing is, so let's say, if you have those numbers, right? My first, so I use my first name. My first name is a number 9, right? The 9 is the number of the bully, right? So let's say I carry that number 9, where there's going to be people that are going to come either try to bully me, or there's going to times I have to stand up for myself, and I have to show that side of myself that no one likes to see, right? That angry side of myself where I need to stand up for myself. Now, depending on how I react to these situations is also going to start to tell more about the story as well.
What you just said, I speak about that a lot, especially with Saturn currently passing through Pisces.
Yeah.
Pisces and Saturn and Pisces, and a lot of the people that's having Saturn returns, you're 28, 29, 20, some 27 people have this, but 28, 29, they're struggling with boundaries.
Yeah.
Lack thereof, or stomping over people's boundaries. And I talk about boundaries a lot. It's good to know about boundaries, but when somebody steps over them, what is your response? And you could be the nicest person in the world.
Yeah.
But when somebody steps over your boundary, at that moment, can you be nice about it?
From my experience, I was bullied as a kid. I had my times where I was bullied. I took it. As a kid, I took it. Um, my understanding was, of course, there's the part of us that's understanding now. It's like, hey, that kid was bullying me because deep down they was going through something. Deep down they were deep down they were intimidated by me. They wanted something I had. My height, they wanted the girlfriend that I had, something like that. But also like but at some point in time, you do got to stand up to the bully. Right? You do got to stand up to the bully and let them know they just can't walk all over you. They just can't have their way with you. You got to exert your power. Right? And it don't even mean that it don't got to get physical. Sometimes you just got to show them a face that they never seen before. You got to look them you got to show them the crazy eyes at one point in time, and they'll step back.
Yeah.
But one thing about it is sometimes, right? And based even off the readings that I've done, especially with that number 9, because the number 9 is the number of anger. People that carry that number 9, especially life path 9s, they don't like to show that part of themselves, is because sometimes when you show that side, it scares people. And then people don't want to get close to you because then they think you're going to be crazy, and then they think you might lash out, and they think that's really who you are all the time. And really what happens is just that now you let the anger build up, and it imploded, and it came out all at once. So definitely got to be a balance with it, right? I tell people, you have to let people know when they hurt you. You have to let people know when they made you mad. You have to speak up for yourself. You have to let people know that they can't mess with you. Because if you don't, you keep letting that anger build up. It's going to take one little thing to set you off. And then again, with that number 9, a lot of anger can come out with that number 9, and the number 9 is a fire number. And one thing about that fire, it can burn down bridges, it can burn down everything all around you. You need to learn how to use that fire wisely. But if not, we've seen what fire can do. And I tell people, don't let that fire destroy everything around you, especially things that you built for yourself.
I think we as a community, especially Black community, but society as a whole, was never taught proper techniques to deal with emotions, good and bad.
Yeah,
good and bad, and proper release techniques of said trauma and bad emotions and anger and stuff. Be honest with you, it's not unhealthy to get angry. It happens to everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
What actually is unhealthy is undealt with anger and unreleased anger.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when it comes to boundaries, you have to release and be angry about it to get that person back on the other side of the boundary. But after that, you let it go.
Yeah.
And so, yes, you could be Mr. and Mrs. Nice Guy, but I tell people all the time, if you watch superhero movies and all that, the hero has to be willing to be as ruthless as the villain, or he'll never beat the villain.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got to be willing to go there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you're not willing to go there, and that person is, you're done for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You'll never win, and they'll just keep on having their way. And because it's like they know how to get under your skin. They know how to get under your skin. And again,
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Phil.
And I was just gonna say, it's just like the Hulk, right? We see how the Hulk, even when it comes to the Hulk, like, yeah, I think what was that? it was the second Avengers. Once he learned how to work with his anger, he was calm the whole movie. And then he said, and they asked him, "Hey, how come? Hey, how do you know how to like? How do you know how to like control this now?" He said, "It's because I'm always angry. I just know how to use it." And I think that was a big thing about it, right? He said, "No, he said they kept poking at him, and he just smiled, and he was just like, "No, I'm always angry, but I know when to let it out."
And would that be channeling it into the direction in which you want it to be in?
Yeah.
Like, I noticed that you said something about the numbers of your name. Now somebody is sitting out there, they're saying, wait, I thought it was my birthday. So which one is more important, the numbers of my name or the numbers of my birthday? Or is there a such thing?
To me, they're both equally important, right?
All right.
And so how I look at it is like there are going to be millions of people that have the same life path number as you, right? The life path number is based off the birthday. There are going to be other people that have the same exact birthday as you, right? Or the same day that you're born on as you. But how many people are going to have your same life path, the same birthday, and the same exact name? The name is about what separates you from everybody else. So that's going to be more personal. So that tells that tells more of the person's story with the name. The name is your expression. The full name, it's about what you're here to teach.
When you say full name, that's first, middle, and last?
Yes.
What if someone doesn't have a middle name?
Well, that's fine too.
What if somebody is a junior? Do they spell out junior, or does the JR count?
Well, see, that's the thing. So I was just talking about this earlier with someone. The name, technically, they say in every book that I've read is that you're not supposed to use the juniors or the thirds. This is my perspective on it, right? My son, he's a junior. And so I see that as he's the second, the number 2, meaning he's the second version of me. But I also say the number 2 is the number of balance. So I also say that my son is a more balanced version of me as well. So even though I don't use it when I'm analyzing a name, if a person is a second or the third, I use that number to say that you're the first or second or third or fourth version of the first one.
But he's different version of you because of different birth dates?
That, and just because, again, if I'm just going off the name, he's the second version of me. So I put in, so that's when I use that number 2, which the number 2 is the number of balance. It's the number of support, kind, caring, loving. 2 is the feminine number, right? So if I say he's more in balance, let's say I'm the more masculine version, right? The number 1 represents the masculine energy, where he's the number 2. Well, the number 2 has the masculine and the feminine, right? It has both legs to stay on. So he has more balance than what I have when I started out.
Well, that I tell people that kids, we don't realize that our kids are put here to push us to evolve. And so that what you just said, Land, adds credence to that.
Yeah.
Your son is a more balanced version of you. So you gotta watching him and how he gets down, you learn stuff from him.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And even with that, and this is not like don't want to venture off too much, but even that with the patterns of the numbers, one thing about me is I'm a life path 7. Then my son, he's born on the 16th of the month. 1 + 6 is 7. So it's like everything, right? The life path is about what you're here to learn. So everything I'm learning on my path is I'm teaching him and helping to influence the day that he's born on. The day that you're born on is your natural gifts, your natural traits and characteristics. So everything that I'm learning on my path is also teaching him for his journey.
You said nines had something to do with anger, right?
Yeah.
So being that I'm born in September, so that's the 9th month. Does all Virgos that born in September, do they have an anger issue?
Yeah.
Really? I was playing.
Nah, and it's not that it's so more traits to the number 9. The 9 is also the number of the universal love as well. So it's more people born in September are probably going to encounter a lot of different other ethnicities, cultures, races, all those different things, all different types of people, more than probably any other number, right? 9 is a number of universal love, meaning you have to have compassion and love for everything on this planet. 9 is a number of the world, of world travel as well, meaning that people born in September will probably have a better chance of traveling all over the world, again, experiencing different cultures. But also 9 is the number of traumatic experiences. So a lot of it has to do about what vibration you're actually born into. So if you're born in a family that's in a low vibration, it's a good chance that you're gonna encounter some traumatic experiences. But also 9 is the number of death as well. So meaning a lot of endings, right? So it can be physical deaths, but it can be a lot of endings in relationships, right? It's going to put you in a lot of situations that you have to learn how to let go and forgive.
Wait, you got all of that just from my month 9?
Yeah, not the month that you're born. That's called like the growth period. That's like, it's the number 9 is the month that you're born in. It like rules the first 25 to 28 years of your life.
The month that you're born in.
Yeah, it influences the first 25 to 28 years of your life.
Well, 28 would match to the Saturn return. That's the fork in the road. That's when Saturn returns to where it was when you were born. It takes 28 to 30 years. And pretty much that matches the progressed moon phase. It takes about 29 years and some months or something around there for the progressed moon to progress through every sign. It takes the progressed moon 2.5 years to get through one sign. So that would match like one little revolution of the progressed moon that first month. Which is interesting because I was also wondering how numerology would tie with astrology. So that's interesting. When you somebody asks you for a reading, what you go to? You go to the birthday first, or you go to the name first?
I go to the birthday. Go to the birthday, and sometimes I switch it up. But the birthday, I start with the birthday because the birthday gonna tell me, who you naturally are. Again, it gives me a lot about the energy. Like the birthday both tells the story, but the birthday that tells like I get a better understanding of, very quickly off that.
All right. Now, I see you behind your chalkboard and all that. You planning on using that?
This is just where where I kind of do my teaching at when I'm on TikTok. Yeah.
Well, shoot. What, you don't want to teach me?
You know what? I will. Yeah, I can absolutely. I don't know, but there's a thing, right? I don't know. See, the thing about it is, I don't know how to make it because it's turning. The number's gonna be backwards.
The way I see it, I see 1, 2, 3. I see it right on my end. I see it right on my end. You got 6, 3, 3, 1, 2, 0, 0, 1, 3. You got 1, A, I can't, A, R, okay. But let me ask you this. I can. You know me. I get to it. Oh shit! I mean, you be honest with you, bro. Usually, I'm audio. I'm mostly audio, but now I'm starting to show some video.
Yeah.
And so, shoot, I can show all this. You know
Okay,
what I
okay,
mean?
yeah. You just let me know. I'll get to
Yeah,
going.
yeah. Well, let me ask you this: in astrology, there's different systems. There's, you know, Western astrology. There's modern traditional astrology. There's modern astrology. You got traditional astrology. You got Vedic astrology and stuff like that. Chinese astrology.
Yeah.
Is there different systems of numerology like that?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's typically the same. You got the Pythagorean system, which is probably the most popular. Then you have the Chaldean system. Um, and then you do have Vedic numerology. You have, I think Chinese numerology also has one, and then I think the most kind of known, the other one that's pretty known is the Kabbalah, which is focused on gematria as well. But yeah, for the most part,
Did you say gematria?
gematria, yeah.
What's that?
So gematria, my understanding, because I haven't studied it a lot, but it uses like more so the Hebrew meaning of the words and letters.
Oh, all right. All
Yeah.
right. All right. So, which system do you mostly use?
So I use the Pythagorean and I use the Chaldean. Now, a lot of this stuff is just different terms. The biggest difference that comes between the two is the lettering system, right? If you look at the top, right, the top of this one is the top is the Pythagorean, and the bottom is the Chaldean. That's the biggest difference, right? And if you see in the Pythagorean system, they use all the way to the number 9 inside of the Pythagorean system. But the lettering system inside the Chaldean, it stops at the letter 8. The reason why in the Chaldean system they said that the 9 is sacred. So a number can add to the number 9, but they don't use the number 9 in the lettering system.
Well, do they use it in their numerology system?
Yeah. They use it in the system totally, but yeah, no letters are assigned to the number 9.
Because it's what you said, it's sacred?
Yeah, the Chaldeans, they consider the number 9 sacred.
What's sacred about it? Do you know? Oh, is that a
It's
what would you
I probably have to get back to you on that, but from my understanding, the 9 is just it's a lot of hidden aspects to the number 9, and is maybe why a lot of people don't talk about it like that. Well, because like I said, the number 9 has a lot to do with I would say that it can have a lot of dark energy, right? So one thing that I like to do is when I watch movies, I watch certain movies and I'll watch certain documentaries, and I want to see, well, usually depending on some other numbers mixed with the number 9, like I said, the number 9 has a lot of anger. What I also think about the number 9 is that it can have, on the mental level, it'll look like different things like schizophrenia, multiple personalities, that type of thing. But what I think about it on the spiritual level, metaphysical level with the number 9, I feel that it's also a lot about having a lot of different spiritual influence inside of your head at the same time. Like the number 9 energy, when I talk to a lot of people that...
Would that be equivalent to possession? Is like you being possessed or something?
I would,
for lack of a better word.
Yeah, for lack of a better word, right? One person that I read upon was Billy Milligan. I watched the Netflix show on him, and Billy Milligan, it was pretty much he suffered from, I think it was schizophrenia, but he had multiple personalities, and the way it was displayed was like there was every time he needed to do something differently, it was like another personality came in. Anytime he needs to go against a bully, a different personality, a different energy appeared, and he had to, to step in. Anytime he had to do something different. It almost reminds me of the movie Split, if you've seen it, right? Where, he had to, it's pretty much something different steps in to handle business.
How about, would that be like Fight? What was that dude? Was it Fight Club?
Yeah.
Wasn't that the same guy? Tyler Durden, and wasn't they the same person?
Well, I know who was that.
What was that? Who's that? Brad? No, was that Brad Pitt?
Brad Pitt was in Fight Club.
Yeah, yeah,
Brad Pitt was in Fight Club and
yeah.
Split. I forgot the dude's name. But yeah,
Ed Norton. Yeah, Edward Norton, I think.
okay.
But I think Brad Pitt wasn't real.
Okay. I gotta see. I gotta go back. It's been a while since I've seen
Yeah,
Fight Club.
yeah.
Been young. I gotta go back and watch that movie.
I think Brad Pitt was like his alter ego.
Yeah.
Because he at the end when he kept going around the country trying to get them to stop and they kept telling them it was you. It was you. So, yeah.
I gotta go back and watch that movie. Okay, yeah. So yeah. So just like that. It's like that person, it don't even. And like when Billy Milligan, like when I was watching his Netflix series, he had no idea that he had did the things he had done. When they brought him back too, he didn't even realize he was in jail. So the 9 has that type of energy. And then also when you talk about what they're able to do, anytime I talk to someone that has that 9 energy, whether they're life path 9 or born on the 9th, the 18th, or the 27th of the month, they know how to astral travel with ease.
Wait, I just heard you do so. You said anybody that's born on the 9th,
the 18th, or the 27th. Yeah.
So those are numbers. Those two numbers add up to 9.
Yeah.
So not only is the 9 number, it's numbers that add up to 9.
Yeah.
Huh.
Now they do have different properties, but yeah, the root number is the number 9. But most times you're gonna hear them say that they are able to do things. They are able to astral travel with ease, travel to different dimensions, being able to have those out of body experiences more than anybody else. Like they have very, well, we all know that it's not a dream, but when they're in a dream state, like it's very realistic for them.
What they call that? Astral projection?
Yeah. Astral traveling and astral projection.
Huh. Well, let me ask you this. Well, the grandkid of a preacher.
Yeah.
What did you think about all this astral projecting and all of this when because this.
Yeah. So the thing is, so when I started getting more into this, I didn't know it, right? People would tell me, right? I remember those times having it. How it was explained to me, they was like, yeah, them times you would have sleep paralysis, or it would be called like when what was it called? The witches riding your back or something like that. Yeah. Like, so that's what's saying that it was astral projection. The reason why you weren't able to move is because it's like your body just got back. It's like, the soul just entered back into the body, but you didn't know it yet, right? You had no idea that it was happening. Now, earlier in life, I had those experiences a lot. Like I'd come home from school, I'd be taking a nap, I'll wake up and I won't be able to move. Now, the first thing they tell you to do is start praying because, it's something demonic happening. But pretty much what it was, I was astral traveling. I was leaving my body, but I just wasn't aware of it.
All right.
Now you tell this to people that haven't been open-minded to it, or haven't experienced it themselves, or haven't studied it, or are not open to the knowledge. You're gonna look at you like you crazy. Especially, any type of Christians, they're gonna say that no, it's just the thing, the witch is riding your back, or sleep paralysis.
So, wait, astral projecting is crazy, but speaking in tongues isn't.
and that's the thing. I always say, if you talk about the Holy Ghost, if you see somebody outside on the street catching the Holy Ghost or speaking in tongues, you're gonna think they own something. You're gonna think they own something. So I'm like, but if it happens inside of a church, it's not. They got the Holy Spirit. So, So that's why, like I say, even when it comes to my own understanding of Kane these past couple years, is like I haven't really talked to anybody, from my um old friends or even like my family members. I haven't talked to them a lot about this because you have to have a very open mind to even be open to the idea of these things taking place.
So what you don't want to what you feel like you like a chicken walking in a wolf in the den of wolves? You get eaten up if you.
No, no. I think many of us that had this spiritual journey, that spiritual awakening, the black sheep, sheep.
I know what you
I'm
mean.
saying, yeah. So
But I know what you mean. But hey, man, mental. I always talk to mental, and I always say, man, I'm petty because I walk around in astrology shirts every time leave the house. I have an astrology shirt on, so I'm throwing it all in their face.
Yeah.
All right. So when I first, like I said, I did a numerology report, and that was a long time ago. I'm talking about years ago.
Yeah.
And most people think when it comes to numerology, it's about adding up just your birthday, and you come out with one number. That's your life path, and that's it. But I was watching you, and you were saying all different types of stuff. You can add your birthday up all different type of way. Can you tell the people how you different ways to add up the birthday, please?
Okay, absolutely. Can I show you instead?
Yes.
I just think it makes So one thing about it is, it's different ways, and it's probably based on the system that you use, but it's different ways to add up on the life path. So, for my birthday, I use my birthday as an example. 3/24/1987. So, and just to make it easier, right, the 1987 adds to the number 25. And then a single digit of the 1987 is going to be the 7, right? 2 + 5 is 7. And then 24, the single digit of that is going to be 6. So the first way you can do it, one way you can do it is take all the single digits. So 3 + 6 + 7 equals 16, which the 16 is a karmic debt number. Now, another way you can add up the life path is adding up each.
Wait. You just be dropping these things down there? You said a karmic what?
Karmic debt.
16?
Yeah, 16. There are 4 karmic debt numbers. Those are going to be the numbers 13, the numbers 14, the number 16, and the number 19. Those are karmic debt numbers.
Wait, 13, 14, 16, and 19?
Yes.
Why those numbers?
I don't know why those numbers, but those are the ones they have listed as the karmic debt numbers.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead.
All right. And so the next way to add them up is going to be by each individual digit. So there's going to be 3 + 2 + 4 + 1 + 9 + 8 + 7, which for me this adds up to the number 34. And then again, 3 + 4 is 7. And then the next way is going to be the double digit numbers. So 3 + 24 + 25 equals 52. And then the last way to do it is, the vertical way, which is going to be 3 + 24 + 1987, which adds to 2014. And then, of course, 2 + 0 + 1 + 4 equals 7. Now, the reason I like to do it like this is because all these, for me, give different insights. I'll look at this as the lowest vibration. I'll look at this as like the middle vibration. and then I consider this one as like the highest vibration, right?
Just by adding it differently, coming
My
up with the same number.
my perspective. That's my
Yeah,
perspective.
yeah. I got you. But what I'm just, for the people who listening on that.
Yeah.
The different ways you added it up. Like I see you got 16, 34, and 52.
Yeah.
And that's because you added it up different.
Yeah.
And you added it up differently gives you a higher a low, middle, and high vibration.
Yes. And then the thing about it is, if you ask someone, if you do this with someone, right? I know this is important for me, right? Even with these numbers, the number 16, the number 34, right? And once I get 52, these will probably be very important ages for people. Even with the number 2014, that may be considered a very important year for someone as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's why when I do a reading for someone, I use always. But most people, they'll tell, most sites, they'll have you do it one way. The easiest way is probably just to do it this way, because there's no other math included, but just adding up each individual digit.
That's the way, all the single digits. That's the normal way. Like if anybody go on a website and do that, that's the number they get, right? The single digit.
Yeah, that's the way I tell them to do it. I say, if you want to figure out your life path number, just add up each individual digit.
What made you start adding it up differently?
Well, one, just different books. I read a few different books that had me added up different ways.
Oh, all right.
I'm like, okay, well, why are all these different books telling me to do something differently? I'm like, why just not do all of them? I'm like, if I'm doing a reading for someone, then I want to have as much knowledge and as much insights as I can possibly have.
Well, I did kind of fib a little bit, like I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
I know that 34 number. That number is called the decisive age year.
Yeah. And
are you 34?
I'm 37.
Oh, so there was a decision that you made at 34 that got you on this trajectory.
It is. And I know what that decision was. Also, what was that, at age 34? So that would be 2021 for me. 2021 is when I had my daughter. 2021 is when I had my daughter. And so she was definitely, when she came in this world, she definitely changed a lot. She definitely made me look at life very differently. And I had to make the decisions. Hey, dude, it's time to tighten up.
Yeah. In my readings and stuff, I had came across that decisive age year would be that 34 number.
Yeah.
But I like the other ways you added it up. Now after you do all that, now what you do with the birthday?
Well, so the next thing I look into the birthday, right after I get there.
Wait. You said, didn't you say are you about to do the month, like how you just said the month was the first?
Yeah, so
25
years. Right. So now another thing you want to do, right? You want to look at the month and how it applies to the life path number, right? You want to use that connection. So now it's like
the month. So that would be for you. It would be 3-7.
Yeah, the 3 and 7, the 3 and 7 connection, right? What type of things will happen with that 3 and the 7? Well, that pretty much, so like if I'm talking about my life path, the life path has a lot to do with my life path number, has a lot to do with truth, secrets, learning how to be more secretive, learning how to finding out what truth is, learning to be more of a loner, learning how to keep things to myself, being able to see things from different perspectives. That's just being more analytical when it comes to people and places and situations. Well, for someone that's born in the month of March like I am, the number 3 likes to talk. So if you're a life path 7 and you're born and your part of your journey is to learn how to be more secretive, well, if you're born in March, you talking too much, is going to put you in situations where you should have kept your mouth shut. And if not, you're going to have to learn how you had to learn a lesson through it, which I definitely did. Like my mouth used to get me in trouble. I get in trouble for cursing, but it also gives insights into some of the things I had to endure where I told somebody a secret and then they started using it against me.
And so the month you was born is equivalent to what now again?
The first 28 years of your life.
All right. So
and then
then
the day that you're born is from ages 28 to 56. And then the year that you're born kicks in at the age of 56 until you transition, right? And I tell people, look at the numbers like a muscle, right? So if that number 6, right, me being born on the 24th,
the second Saturn return happens in between the ages of around 56 to 60.
Okay. Yeah.
So which would be the day, somewhere around the ending of the day period.
Okay.
So you remember how you said the month? And I was like, oh, that's the first Saturn return.
Yeah.
Well, look like for the day number is right. It covers right before the second Saturn return.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now, and I tell people like I don't know a lot about astrology, right? I know you do, right? If any, but I say like they brother and sister or cousins, whatever you want to say. It goes hand in hand.
Well, I think I told you one time. I don't know if you know how you was doing readings for people one day.
Yeah.
And they was putting their birthdays up there.
Yeah.
And when you were doing their numerology, I pulled up their astrology.
Yeah.
And so I would just listen to you talk, and I was looking at their chart, and it was on point.
Yeah.
So the one thing I may say about astrology over numerology is you might be able to get dates and details a little bit more, but the stuff that you were saying was all on point and connected straight to their chart.
Yeah, I mean, and there's deeper ways to look into it. There's deeper ways to look into it.
Well, that's just my novice, observation.
Okay, yeah. Because the thing is also because once you add in things like the name, that's going to add more insight, right? It can really help you hone in onto what's really going in with a person, right? So the first letter of my name, right, is the number 9. The letter R is the number 9.
Wait, I got what you mean. So that day I was watching you were just doing the birth dates. If you would have did the date and their name, you would have got even more detail.
Yeah.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah. So can I show you?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So the next thing, right? So even after the life path, so people, the thing is, right? So you got this, right? Which is also adds up. Let me just put the life path number 7. So if I'm talking about my first 28 years of life, right? So let's put the name here, right? RAYMOND, right? And I'll use the lettering system, and I'm gonna use the Pythagorean system. Number 9, 1, 7, 4, 6, 5, 4. It adds up to the number 36, which 3 plus 6 is 9. So in my first 28 years of life, there's going to be from 9, 10, 7, 10, 17, 21, 27. That's about to right here, right? That's about to right here. So all of this.
Wait. Hold up. How you know it's to the O?
Because you add these up. So that's 9 plus 1 is 10. Plus
Yeah, I saw you add that, but what are you correlating that to?
This to the month that I was born in.
Why?
Because this gonna be, I'm looking at the first 28 years.
Oh, so the numbers that add up to 28 in the name? I got you.
Yeah. So this is gonna be all the way added up to 28. So 9 plus 10 plus 17, 21. Technically that's 27. And then technically right here would be 28, which so now it would be saying, well, this would be age 28. So this would be saying, right, there were some changes inside of here, right? Because 5 is the number of change, the number of movement, it's the number of things taking place, which, some things definitely took place during that time, but it's also changed with how I use my voice. And then also, it also applies to the life path as well. Now, the other cycles that are happening in there, it would be also my personal years that were taking place. And yeah, that's pretty much the majority of it right there. But like the name also gives more insights to help you look deeper into it.
So by looking at the 3, using the 3, and then which is represents the first 28, and then going up to 28 in your name, you get more details on how that first 28 years break down.
Yeah.
So,
and even using
those. So you go through 9, 1, 7, 4, 6 in your first 28.
Yeah. So like this the first year. So the first 9 years of my life, right? The first 9 years represented by the R. This was saying, again, told you that the number 9 represents completion, meaning doing a whole bunch of different things, right? So like in my first 9 years of life, I played basketball. I played the drums in church. I encountered many different cultures, right? I had, different friends of ethnicities at school, those type of things. But also the number 9 represents endings, meaning, I moved from, I no longer was being raised by my parents. I was being raised by my grandparents. So it just gives insights to many different things that are taking place, many different endings.
All right.
And one of my grandmothers died my mother's mother, she died at the age of 4 or 5, I think.
All right. And then, so the A, you was only in that A energy for 1 year? Does the numbers represent the years, like the Y, you was in Y energy for 7 years?
You're right, exactly. So now it's like this, when you see this number 1 here, which is only here for 1 year, that represents the father energy, right? So I'll get to that in a minute, but this represents, right, based off what a person has in their name also tells about what type of energy they may carry, right? So with only if I have a 1 in the name, this can also have insights about, right, the number 1 represents leadership, represents self-reliance. It represents being able to speak up for myself, being resourceful, being more assertive, those type of things. Well, with only 1, number 1 is not a very strong masculine energy. So that's another thing I'm looking at when I'm looking at people's readings, right? Do you have more masculine numbers or do you have more feminine numbers inside of your name?
All right. Would that represent how you said earlier in the podcast, how you was bullied earlier in life?
Yeah, that number 9 right there.
Well, the lack of ones.
Yeah, that will make a difference as well. Yeah, right.
So well, didn't you say, well, wouldn't a lack of 1 energy be a lack of masculine?
Yeah, which would hint at my father, right? So if I'm looking at a person's, like, this would show me, was your father, like, did you have any older brothers around? Maybe you didn't have any older brothers around. Oh. Maybe you didn't have a father around. If they was there, they just weren't very present. because again, energy attracts energy.
Yeah.
So if you don't have if there's not a lot of one energy around, it just indicates that energy wasn't present. Or there wasn't a lot of influences, or you didn't have that positive male influence around. Like I had my grandfather, but I give that energy to the number 9 and the number 7 because those are the both spiritual numbers.
So what you talking about now, does that relate to that tic-tac-toe board you had up there with the numbers in it?
Yeah. So the so that goes, I use that based off the full, I use that based off the full name at birth.
All right.
Based off the letters that are missing from the name, right? So, and also again, seeing how a person may react more from a physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual or intuitive standpoint. But based off the numbers that are missing gives insights onto, the person's weakness, for lack of a better words.
All right.
But yeah. So the name. So when you start looking at the name, you get a lot more, especially when it comes to the actual person.
All right. Now, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Which one you like more? Dealing with the birth date or the name? You like breaking down the birth date or breaking down the birth name?
It's easier to break down the birthday. It's easier for the break. But I like looking at the name because the name gives me I can find out more when it comes to the name, because there's just one, I can see that the letters that are present, but also what the letters are missing. But then I also, by the name, I also able to find your soul number and also your personality number.
So you know what? Sometimes when people find out I'm into astrology and all of that stuff, man, people hesitate to give me their birth date. Sometimes they be like, I don't want to give you my birthday. But if somebody tell you their name, that's all you need.
Your first name is really all I need.
Yeah.
All I need is your first name. And I can find out just enough.
Could you just do somebody's first and last name and not know their middle name? And
Yeah. Yeah. I would see, that's the thing. That's where I would probably use the Chaldean system for that one, because if a person
just the first and middle name, the first and last name.
Yeah, because if that's might be the name that they tend to go by. But they might have a middle name, but they don't want to tell you your middle name. But if you tell me your first and last name, then I'll probably use the Chaldean system, because you use the Pythagorean system just for the full name at birth. Use the Chaldean system for nicknames, aliases, the names that you actually go by. The name you're most known by, even when it comes to like your social media handles.
Why do you switch from Pythagorean to Chaldean?
Because from everything that I've studied is that you're supposed to use the Chaldean when it comes to name changes. But I like using the Pythagorean system because for the full name at birth. And that's because, it's just how I was taught. And the thing is, if I studied it on myself. So with me studying it myself, I definitely feel that it still resonates. Using both just allows me to really, again, if I'm doing a reading for someone, I'm going to see which one most applies. But
Mental, did you have a question when it came to that?
When it comes to the Chaldean and the Pythagorean, which one do you see that like there's more accuracy with either or?
From my experiences, no. So this is I'll most likely use the Pythagorean system. The Chaldean system. Let's say if it's a woman, once she changes her last name, then I'll use the Chaldean system, because that's a name change.
All right. What about, and you said nicknames too?
Nicknames too.
All right.
Yeah, nicknames too. So this is my thing. So let's just go down to Ray, right? People like to call me Ray. So if I do it in just Chaldean, if I do it in just Pythagorean, it adds up to the number 17, which is number 8, right? Which does make sense because the number 8 is all about finances, it's all about the business mind, it's about power, it's about leadership and authority. Well, people started calling me Ray when I started working at different jobs, again associated with money, so that's how I actually got the name. Now if I'm looking at it in Pythagorean, Chaldean, R becomes the number 2, both these numbers become the number 1, right? And I also would say, well, it adds up to the number 4, and most people would say, well, Ray at work, he's a very hard worker, he's very organized. Well, some would say I'm organized, but I'm a hard worker, right? 4 represents the number of hard work and stability, foundation, willing to endure. And the thing about it is, I've had jobs. I was a field technician for AT&T for 11 years, climbing on ladders, installing direct TV, going to attics, crawl spaces, working in all type of inclement weather, right? And so that's where that number 4 would appear at. Now, the other thing is I'll also go a little deeper and I add these together. 8 plus 4 equals 12, which is 3, right? Which when I was at work, I would be very positive, right? 3 represents positivity, optimism, energetic, youthfulness, right? And yeah, and usually when I was at jobs, I was the one who always had a positive outlook, who smiled a lot, that type of energy.
So you just added the number from the Chaldean and the Pythagorean to get the 3?
Yup.
So you was using both systems interchangeably.
Yeah.
And together.
Yeah. And that's even thing. So I would even say that, like, my perspective, right? So another thing I would even look at is, like, this may even show, right, the beginning, and this may show like the final side of it, right? Like where you started at and where you're gonna finish at is the Chaldean.
All right. Can you tell me now, on my numerology report, I saw all kind of numbers like core number, expression number, and all that.
Yeah.
What's all that?
So I'm gonna sit back down here for a second.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So there in numerology, there are 5 core numbers.
What's a core number?
It's just pretty much the basic numbers, the most known numbers. In the Pythagorean system, they're going to go off the 5 core numbers which, it's just pretty much the basic numbers, right? The life path number, of course, the birthday number, which is the day that you're born on, which the life path numbers is what you're here to learn. The birthday number, though, that is your natural strengths, talents, gifts, and characteristics. The full name at birth, called the expression number, right? That's about what you're here to teach and who you are as a person, right? And then you got the soul urge number, which is sometimes called the heart's desire or motivation number, right? They use different sayings, but that's about your innermost desires. That's about what you truly want, what drives you, what motivates you, what you're most passionate about. That's taken from the vowels in the name, right? You adding up all the vowels in the name. Now the person out of the last number is the personality number. This is the number where you may not feel like this person, but this is the image that you project, meaning this is how people view you. Again, you may not think this is about you, but when people encounter you, this is how people view you. And
that would be equivalent to the rising sign or ascendant in astrology.
Yeah, so and that's taken from the consonants in the name.
The consonant? All right.
Yeah, the consonant. So yeah, so you got all the letters in the name makes the expression number, the vowels make the soul urge, and then the consonants make the personality number.
And all that matters.
Yeah.
You look at all of that. If somebody gets a consultation from you, you do all that?
Oh yeah, and this is the thing. I do it in both systems too. I look at them in both systems,
Why?
so it can it helps me get a better picture. Most of the time, it kind of had the same energy. It kind of had carried kind of the same energy, but it helps me gauge a better picture. Because sometimes I have to see when I'm in these readings. Not everybody wants to just sit there and, even as I'm doing the reading, I know I'm hitting spot on. But some of these people, you got to kind of chisel at to help get their wall down. Not everybody wants to tell you something. And so
you see that when you do live readings live more, but more private readings, they'll open up a little bit more to you in the private reading than online. Because online, you be making, you got all their kids and dirty laundry.
Yeah. Now I had one recently that was a private reading, and where it took me a little bit of time. I had to start chiseling away but it kind of made sense. And in my mind, I'm like, that's why I have to trust my intuition. I'm like, you are very hard to read. And she was, and I'm like, and I had to end up telling her that at the end of the reading, I'm like, hey, you are very hard to read. She's like, yeah, you have to kind of break my guard down a little bit. But it also resonated with her reading. She was a very hard person to get to. She was very guarded.
All right. And the thing that really, really, your boy, our mutual friend Sun Moon, when he came in that day and tried to break that tic-tac-toe board thing down. That's the thing that really got me interested. So could you break that down for me? Well, how does that work? What's going on with that?
Oh, so absolutely. So this is called, I learned this from Lloyd Strayhorn's book. But it's called the Box of Traits. So it's called the Box of Traits. So this is pretty much based off of the numbers that are missing in your name and the numbers that are most present in the name. So so if I'm looking, I know all the numbers in my name. So RAYMOND, right? 917465. Now, I'm not gonna put all my information up there, but for the middle name, it's 45565. And then for my last name, 4399. And so now what I do is I say, well, how many number ones do I have in my name? Right? Because every box, right? So I just draw another one up here. This box represents the number 1, the number 2, the number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So how many number ones, right? Which are going to be the letters A, J, S is the number 1. The number 2 is going to be the letters B, K, T, 3, C, L, U, 4, D, M, V. 5 is going to be E, N, W. 6, F, O, X. 7 is going to be G, P, and Y. 8, H, Q, Z. 9 is I, R. Now, based off this, well, I'll go and see, well, how many number ones do I have in my name? I only have 1. How many number 2s do I have in my name? 0. How many number 3s do I have in my name? 1. Number 4s, 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 5s, I have 4 number 5s. How many number 6s? 2. Number 7s, 1. 8s, 0. And number 9s, 1, 2, 3. So pretty much based off these numbers, right, will show my strengths. And so what it means is also is like, right, so the two numbers that are most the number that is most prominent, let's start with the number 5, which would be this box. This means, right, the number 5 represents change and learning how to be adaptable, which means I encountered a lot of things in my life that pretty much strengthened that muscle, right? So again, if I'm saying looking at the looking at the numbers as muscles, the
wait,
muscles
wait,
got to
wait,
go.
wait. Let me get you right. You want the middle represents the number. Oh, the 5 up at the top.
Yeah, so this is the number. This is the box for the number 5, meaning
All
the
right.
box for the E, N's, and W's.
And so you have the most 5s.
Right. So the numbers that are most prominent in my name is the numbers 4 and the number 5.
All right.
Meaning I have a lot of DMVs or ENWs in my name.
When it comes to prominence, how do you determine that number?
Well, you're just adding them up. How many? Right.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. So how many? So looking at my name right here, how many number 4s do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4 number 4s, and then how many number 5s? 1, 2, 3, 4.
So if somebody got low numbers and then the most number they got is a 3, that's their most prominent number?
Right. If right, and those are people that generally have like a short name or something like that.
Yeah.
But
right.
yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
No, just I'm asking questions for people who,
No. Yeah. So
yeah. Go ahead.
So the number that's like where you have the most numbers at, that's gonna say those are your strengths. Those are your strengths. The numbers that are the lowest and those are missing, those are kind of seen as your weaknesses. Now, if a number is completely missing, that's also kind of seen as a karmic lesson, right?
Now, could the lesson be? Let me ask you, just to play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Could you have a 0 because you might be good at that stuff and you don't need to learn that or work on it just like that?
No, the 0 will be there, meaning that means that you haven't. That means that you don't have anybody that can influence that part of you. You didn't come across anybody in your life that didn't influence that part. So, now,
are you shit out of luck with a 0 in the box?
No, because that's the thing, right? So that's why I don't really like to say it's the weakness. But you can't say it's the weakness, but it's where your greatest strength that is found in your weakness.
Why you don't like to say weakness?
Because when people hear the word weakness, hey, don't be calling me weak. You know what I'm saying? They get a little defensive.
So I see you deal with trigger words too, huh?
Yeah. So if I try not to say weakness, but I make sure if I do use the word weakness, I tell them like, hey, but you understand your greatest strength is found in your weakness. Like you good in all these parts already. Well, we see what you need to work on. Once you work on those, the life that you want you can start actually having a life that you want.
So in all actuality, that grid is kind of like a owner's manual. As into, hey, here's where you're good at. You can lean into this energy over here.
Yeah.
Work on this. What's in your book? What's a high number? What somebody got a high number? What would be a high number in one of them boxes?
I
guess 9, huh? But
the most average, the highest box on average is the number 5 box.
Well, I meant by as far as numbers, like in a box, like it could be anywhere. That number will be anywhere. Is there a number of numbers that would be considered like a high number in a box?
Oh yeah. Well, you know what? It depends on the number. It depends on the number because some numbers you just not gonna see a lot of people have. Now, on average, this box would be is typically the lowest. The 7 box. I'm sorry, the 7 box is always typically the lowest because you don't meet a lot of people that have G's, P's, and Y's in their name. That's
I have a P. My name starts with a Paul. I'm Paul.
Oh yes. Yeah, but but it's not most common. But you always gonna meet somebody, right? And the thing about it, the reason it's different also is because, and I just thought about this, is because based on vowels too, right? Everybody need to have vowels in their name. Well, the boxes like these 2 boxes don't have any vowels. Right, Y is sometimes used as a vowel, right? But G, P, and Y, and then H, Q, and Z. Those are the numbers 2 of the numbers that don't have any vowels.
All right. All right.
So yeah, and I guess the most common vowel would be either the A or the E.
All right. Now,
Yeah.
question.
Mm-hmm.
You with that grid, you broke it down individually. Does the I watch you get down now.
Yeah.
And I know I'm sitting up here wondering, does he add them columns up or something?
And some
Do you do something with the columns or the rows?
Yeah. So I actually do. A few different.
Something told me.
Yeah. So the boxes, the 1 and 8, this box and this box, the 1 and 8 box, those represent the mental numbers, right? So this may say how personally, when they tend to be in a situation, do they respond from a logical standpoint, right, or a mental standpoint? Do they see, do they make, just coming from a logical standpoint? The boxes 2, 3, and 6, those are the emotional numbers. So if that's highest, that means a person may tend to more respond off of emotions more than logic. Now, the boxes 4 and 5, those represent the physical numbers. So this may mean, this can also, if a person's, let's say they're in a situation, would they be made prone to getting physical, getting violent, or are they going to look for something outside of themselves? Maybe they might turn to alcohol, to sex, to some type of vice in order to deal with their stress or their emotions. And then the box numbers 7 and 9, those represent the intuitive boxes or the spiritual boxes, meaning, are those people going to go within? Are they going to go, pray about it? Those type of things.
Well, damn, you went around. I didn't mean like that. You know how you got to have 3 in a row, diagonal down like that to get
you thought
to win. I was wondering if, like, what was that 171 or 191, the first column going down, or 101 going across? Would you do something
like this?
That? Yeah.
Now, so that'll represent. So that also.
That's what I was asking. If you do things like that, like the column.
Yeah, I look at that too, because the first row represents the self, meaning how more of if a person's going to be to do things catered to themselves. Are they very it's all about me, that type of thing, right? Now the middle row, that's going to be more towards like family and community, being more family and community oriented, right? And then the last box, that's going to be more so be on global impact and making a difference in the world and everybody else, pretty much, like different states, regions, those type of things.
So you go across, or you go
across?
Do you add the numbers up, or it would be one, or that's like how you early age, middle age, last age? I don't know.
Now that's another thing too, because it's so many different ways I can use this, and this is probably why this might be my favorite aspect of it, because if you're looking like the number 1, it goes in cycles. Number 1 is like ages 0 through 9, age 2 from like 10 to 18, 3 is going to be from 19 to 27, 4 is 28 to 36. So you can look at it from that aspect as well, and just keep going all the way until you reach the age of 81, which would be here, the last box.
Oh, you meant like 1, 2, 3 going like that?
Yeah.
Ages like that. Oh, all right.
Yeah. So I mean, you can look at this from many different ways, many different aspects. But the most part I do is look at. Yeah. But the most part I look for is to see what numbers are missing based off the name. So like this, right? This is the number 2 box. In numerology, the number 2 for me, that represents the feminine. It's the mother, right? I call that the mother. So if this is missing, if I see this is a very low number, or that number is missing, this is an indication that a person may not have their mother around, or that the mother was more of a masculine mother, you know, not taking type of shit type of mother. She wasn't the mother that you can really turn to and show your emotions to. You know, and it's an indication that that person don't know how to ask for help. They don't like to be vulnerable, but they also don't know how to receive help as well. Don't know how to receive love. So that'll be the letters B, K, and T.
And LL Cool J said, I need love.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then for my next missing box is the number 8. So that has a lot to do with being able to see the bigger vision, being good with financial matters, right? And then you can look at patterns as well. Like if this box is missing, if there's no numbers in that box, it usually means that a person, when they make money, they make money and it goes right out their pockets, or they're bad at gambling. They lose money very easily. The quicker they make the money, the quicker it goes away, which I can definitely attest to in part of my aspects of my life. But you know, it's usually and also just depending on the other numbers, right? So if I'm looking at this, I'll go back to my birthday with the 324, right? If this is missing, the number 3 likes to be popular, right? The number 3 people, they like to be popular. They like to be in the in crowd, right? They don't like to look different. They can judge themselves they can be highly judged. They can have a lot of self-criticism, right? So let's say a person's good at making money, but they make money, but they want to be popular, but they're not good at maintaining their money. It's a good chance they're going to buy things to try to impress other people, right? To stay inside the in crowd so they can keep friends around them, which at times I can look back on my life. There were times where I definitely did that. You know, going to the club, buying bottles and, you know, buying drinks for people, you know, bringing drinks to every time I get invited somewhere, bringing drinks to the party, bringing a bottle to the party. It's like, yeah, dude, you just got paid though.
You're making it rain.
Yeah.
All right. Is there any other thing you wanted to introduce me to when it came to the system and all that? Well, I did want you to run through the numbers, what the numbers mean to you, what each number mean to you, if you could. But I wanted you to finish going through everything.
But this pretty much is what I mean, and then what I got about it, but also like based on, like I just look at different number combinations. Like again, the numbers tell a story. And again, it just shows like what type of energy you were able to attract. Now, one thing I do want to mention, if a number is missing, but it shows up in one of your other core numbers, right? If it shows up as your life, let's say if I was a life path 8 and an 8 was missing, well, I still like it technically wouldn't be considered a karmic lesson, but it still would be a big challenge for me, if that makes sense.
It won't be considered a karmic lesson, but it's
this
is not a karmic thing like you've been dealing with for lifetimes. This is just like this popped up this lifetime. So
So it's like it's gonna be a little hard for me, but not terribly hard. Oh, and then one thing I wanna when it comes to these things, it's not like there are specific times that you can actually build upon these numbers, right? And that has a lot to do with your personal year, your age, even like your personal months, right? So let's even say, right, so the 8 is missing, the number 8 is missing, but 2024 is a universal 8 year. So this is a year, well, where pretty much, this is like saying, if I consider the number 8 leg day, well, your whole year is about doing the leg workout. So this is the year I can make my legs stronger.
How does someone figure out a personal year?
So to figure out your personal year, right? So using my birthday, you can do a single digit or you can do a double digit, but it would be the month that you're born, plus the day that you're born, and also looking at the current year that you want to look at. So if I want to look at 2024, which adds to the number 8, it would be 3 plus 24 plus 8, which adds to the number 35. So 3 plus 5 is 8. So I'm actually in my personal 8 year, which gives me, so this is the cycle where I can really build on this number right here.
I got a question. Does
Yeah.
that start in March or does that start in January for you? Like my birthday's in September. So does my personal year start in September or does it start in January?
Most texts are going to say that it starts in at the actual birthday. But I say when it starts at that late in the year, I'm looking at both. So since your birthday has not come yet, I will look at the year for 2023, which is the number 7, and I will look at this number year. And based off our reading, what I'm saying, if I'm telling you what's happening, I can get a better understanding of which one is actually happening for you. And then that's the one I would go off of.
It's kind of like I said, sometimes reading charts it's kind of like at first you're in a dark room, you dropped your keys on the floor and you're just feeling around on the ground. You ain't turning the light on, you just feeling around, feeling for it.
Yeah.
All right. Real quick, could you run through each number, what it resonates with? And then I have an interesting question dealing with from mental.
Okay.
He probably doesn't think I was going to bring this question up, but go ahead with what's the one run through?
So the number 1, and this is the easiest way for me to get it to people. The number 1 represents the father. That's the father. Let's just say, right, and it tells a story, right? So this is the time, right? The father, right? Before he's a father, he's a man, right? And so the man, let's say a man is found out in the wilderness, right? He's by himself, he's placed alone, nobody else around. He has to learn how to be self-reliant. He's independent, he's by himself. He has to learn how to figure things out. He's got to be assertive, he's got to make decisions. During that time, he's also in survival mode, right? That's what the number 1 represents. It represents independence, it represents new beginnings. It represents being assertive, taking action, going out and getting it, right? That's the number 1 energy. It's the masculine energy. Now, what's that man? What's next is now, let's say somebody else drops there. It's the woman. That's the feminine. That's going to be the mother, right? So this is the person that's going to teach him how to work with other people, how to cooperate with others, how to be more kind, how to be more caring, how to be more empathetic, how to work in teamwork, how to teach, right? Because now it just ain't about you. Now you got to actually teach something to somebody else. So that's what the number 2 is. It's about patience, teamwork, cooperation, being kind, being caring, being, communicating, those type of things, right? So the number 1 is the father, number 2 is the mother. The number 3, when mother and father get together, they have a child. That's the number 3. The number 3 represents, right, when we think of kids, we think of the number 3 is creativity, energetic, children are very self-expressive. They're what else? They're very impressionable. They are very optimistic, right? You look at kids, you can't help but to get, feel joyful, see the positive side of things, right? They motivate you, they inspire you. Well, those are the traits of the number 3.
That's not what comes to my mind when I hear 3.
No?
No.
It represents, what
The Trinity.
That part too. Yeah.
Well, why you left the Trinity out of there? You walked away from it that much, man.
And you know what's crazy?
Huh?
That was the name of my church. Trinity Missionary Baptist Church.
So I see that you put father, mother, child within that pretty much. Isis, Horus, and Ra.
Okay.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit.
Yeah. Union. It's union, right?
Yeah. Mother, father, child. Yeah. All right, go ahead. I digress.
No. And I mean, and then a child shows you. I mean, a child is a miracle, right? Who would ever thought man and child creates a woman and a man creates a child, right? A child is from. They say a child is from God. So
well, no, we talk about masculine. Now we get into another subject, but we talk about masculine and feminine. Me and Mental was talking the other day, and I said, and I asked, you got masculine is a god and feminine is a god, but the coming together of them is actually God. The interaction of the masculine and feminine is God, which would be the expression of the child, which is creation.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing, right? And so I know a lot of people don't talk about zero, but when I see
you don't even know. Hold up. Oh, he dipped out. Remember I said I got a question.
Yeah.
A Mental might not know I'm going there, but I'm going there. Actually, that's it. I was going to ask you, how do you feel about the number 0?
Yeah, I call zero source or the God power, right? It's like when people are born behind that. When, let's say somebody is born on the 10th, the 20th, or the 30th of the month, it's like they got a little behind them, right? They got a little on their sides, right? Compared to, right, difference between somebody born on the 3rd of the month and the 30th of the month. It's like that person on the 30th month gonna have a little bit more of that power behind them.
Because there's a argument that 0 doesn't exist. The number 0 doesn't exist. Have you heard that?
I've heard that.
All right.
Yeah, I've heard that. But
but I take it you ain't buying that then. If you say that's God energy.
Yeah, I look at it as God. I look at it as the God energy, right? That's just me.
All
right. So, and the number 4 represents the foundation, right? This represents 4 is about stability, your belief system, right? This is right when mother, father, and child, right? Let's say they want to figure out where they're going to live at, where they're going to plant their roots at, where they're going to send their child off to, where their child's going to go to school at, the school system, the educational system, the church, it's tradition, right? The number 4 represents tradition.
Man, I'm a life path 4, right?
Okay. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm a life path. And you don't know this, but my north node, you just used a word that I never heard with a 4. And my north node, which is like, let's just say what your soul came to learn this lifetime.
Yeah.
Well, my north node is in the 9th house. And the
okay.
And the 9th house has to do with beliefs.
Oh, yeah.
And I ain't never knew. And you just use belief system with the number 4.
Yeah.
I ain't never heard that. I've always heard the master builder, foundation, all of that. Yeah. But it's interesting that you put belief system there and which connected to my chart.
Yeah. The reason I say beliefs is because everything that happens inside of your childhood, right? What's been number 4 represents traditional. What's traditional to you? If you've been used to hearing negative comments, if you've been used to being talked down all to your life, right? If you've been the things that you're experienced in life, right? Even when it comes to things like, do you feel you worthy of money? How do you feel? Like, do you feel that you can be rich? Do you feel that you can have the life that you want? Well, that's all found in your foundation, in your belief system.
Interesting.
So that represents organization and structure as well. Number 4 represents organization and structure.
All right.
All right. So now I call the number 5. I call this the stage where this is the stage. It's represented by freedom, change, and movement. I call this is where the child goes off to gain their own experiences, right? This is when the child goes off to college to learn things from themselves, right? The number 5, right? I call the number 4, that's the box. The 5 represents the person stepping outside of the box to gain new experiences, stepping into the unknown, right? Being more adventurous, spontaneous, learning things by actually doing them. That's what the number 5 is. The number 6, now I call this number, I call that the grandmother. That is when the mother becomes the grandmother and the father becomes the grandfather. But this is also when the child goes off and starts a family of their own. The number 6 represents family, responsibilities, being of service, and nurturance. And also unconditional love as well, because most of us, where do we feel unconditional love at? From our grandmothers.
I don't believe in that.
What's that?
Unconditional love.
You don't believe in unconditional love?
It don't exist. All love comes with conditions, even God's love. If you, according to the Bible, if you don't do this, you don't do that, you're going to hell.
Well, see, that's why I don't really.
I said, yeah. Even with the Bible, according to
according to the Bible, yeah.
But if you think about it, I mean, here's a. All right, I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you say you got a son, right?
Yeah.
Your son pulled in the driveway with a body in the trunk. What you doing?
Oh, I still love him, but no, bro, we're not doing that. Like, nah.
What you doing? You ain't helping him. You ain't helping him get rid of the body. What you do?
No.
Calling the cops?
Huh?
Calling the cops?
That's a tough one.
I just said I might ask you a tough question.
You can't stay here.
Hey, I ain't calling nobody, but you got to get the hell out of my driveway.
Yeah. I still love you, but this is why. This is why. It's because I get it in this physical world. It's gonna be tough. In this physical world, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
But you having that on your conscience, living up here, is gonna be a lot tougher.
Yeah.
And that next lifetime gonna be a lot tougher if you don't do to start at least start to take the steps to make it right for your next lifetime. I don't believe in a heaven and a hell, but I believe in the next lifetime and the things that we do in this lifetime prepare us for
karma accrued over.
Yeah.
You know, I've asked a lot of people that question. You know how they got the verses and you could do on like TikTok and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, in my verses, I asked that question.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they got a lot of people that say, oh, I'm helping my kid. I'm going to help the kid bury the body. But then I turn around and I say, ask that same person, if your kid drained your bank account of 15 grand, what you doing? And some of them same people that was going to bury a body, call the cops on their kid that drained their account. And I was like, damn, that money was worth more than the body. But at that point, what happened to unconditional love? You know, and the reason I say that love comes with conditions is because, hey, if you don't do this, you don't do that, I ain't gonna love you. But then also, giving unconditional love actually is giving people a doormat to do anything. Give you a permission slip to do anything. Hey, you could do anything you want. I'm gonna still love you.
I can love you from a distance, though.
I hear you, but at that point, is it love?
But see this. So I also think about it. I also say it this way, right? Also, when I mean unconditional love, is also seeing the beauty in all things too, right? You know, that's also a very big key, right? It's like I see what you are. I love you. I don't like what you are right now, but I also see what you're able to become once you get over these hurdles that you need to get over. So
Can we say, oh, I see you and I love you as a child of God, but as far as anything else, give me 50 feet?
Look, it's a lot to it. That's but I mean, yeah, it's a lot that can go with that. But I mean, like I say, I can love a person regardless, but it don't mean you get to walk over me, it don't mean you get to treat me anyway. Me showing you love may mean that me making a tough decision in order for you to take the steps to get your life right. Because if I got to cut you off, then that means that that's something that you need to learn on your own.
But you know, they say you give a person an inch, they take a yard. You give them a yard, they take a mile. So you know, and if you someone who have poor boundaries and all that stuff, you'll get taken.
Yeah.
But anyway, we ain't need to get on for no tangible, unconditional love. My bad, bro.
No, that's good.
Number 7.
All right, number 7. See, now this is where the grandfather come in, because number 7 is the grandfather, right? That is I call that it's the truth seeker. It's the bird's eye view. That's what I call it, right? And it's because I got to see these right up hand, right? I saw how my grandfather used to take a back seat. He'll leave things early, but he'll sit back and he'll observe. Number 7 represents the truth seeker. It represents the need to research and analyze, right? It needs to go process things, to go inside, self-reflect, be more introspective. What have I done in the past? What are the habits, right? If a grandfather's looking at the things he's done for his family, okay, what have I done? What is my son and my children doing? What is my wife doing? What is this family doing? Now, what do we need to cut loose, and what do we need to do differently moving forward? So that's why I call it the grandfather. That's the number 7. That's the knowledge, and that's the wisdom. I call it if we're talking about a business, a corporation, that's the research and development department.
All right.
R&D. The R&D.
R&D. Yeah, all right.
Now, number 8, that is the legacy, right? So we're talking about the grandfather done did all of this. Now at the number 8, now I got to see what I need to do differently. It's okay, what decisions do I need to make? The number 8 is like the CEO of a company. That's the executive, right? That's the leader, the authority, right? What I got to make the tough decisions, right? When we're talking about a company, most people don't understand why the CEOs, they have to make the decisions they have to make. It's because not everybody's going to agree with them, but they have to understand it, right? If I got to lay off people from this company, it's because I need this company to withstand the test of time and carry on for my family lineage and carry out for generations through. And again, there's times I got to make sacrifices. So the number 8 represents about being bold, being fearless, right? Making the necessary sacrifices, being of authority, being a leader, right? And being able to push things forward to keep things to withstand it for the test of time.
Right.
It's also karma, right? Whatever I put in, I'm gonna get out. That's why number 8s, light path 8s, they have to make sure they're doing things like investing their time and money into things that feed back into them. Now the number 9, that is the completion. That is the ending, right? That is the humanitarian as well. So this is about, so let's say you got the family, we done made all the money we need for us. We done got our land, we got our generational wealth, we good. Now, what can we do to help the rest of the world? What can we teach and leave for the rest of the world, right? What are we leaving behind, right? What are we giving the rest of the world? How are we help making an impact here, right? And it doesn't matter about who you are, right? Because the 9 is all about universal love. So it doesn't matter your race, religion, sexual orientation, any of that. It doesn't matter. If you are someone in need, I want to help you because I have unlimited resources right now. So, yeah, but it's also about number 9 is the ending of cycles, completion. 9 is the number of death, right? Death and physical death, ego death. Death of a relationship, death of a career, whatever needs to end, it must end, because if it doesn't end, then next is the number 10, which brings back another new beginning. But if you're still holding on to things, if you're not letting things in, then that number 10 don't appear.
Wait.
That's just me going, huh?
Where 10 come from?
That's just me starting to go into the rest of the numbers because 10 starts it back over at number 1.
Oh, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. I was about to say, where 10 come from?
Yeah.
All right. Huh. All right. I was noticing something as you went through. I had a thought.
Yeah.
I noticed that you use this in correlation with the family and the family unit. Well, how did this work now with the breakdown of the family unit? Because we know families don't run like this no more.
Yeah. well, this is the part how you see it. Me being able to correlate this with family helps me to give insights to the person that I'm reading. Because now I'm going to look at what number is the lowest and what are you missing. 9 times out of 10, if a person is missing that number 6, somewhere in their chart, they never know. They never felt what. They don't know what unconditional love feels like, and it's a good chance they didn't have a grandmother around them. If they had, again, if they're missing a number 2, it's a good chance if they don't have a lot of feminine energy around, it's because they had a lot of masculine energy around. They had a lot of brothers. They had maybe older brothers around. They had father around, uncles around, and or again, the women that were around, they weren't very feminine. The single, those single mothers and the mothers that had to just get up and make shit happen, right? They didn't receive the attention they needed.
It's interesting that you said that because they got mad with me. Female.
Yeah.
They said to me, hey, I got a lot of masculine energy because I'm a single mom and I have to do everything. I had to be the father and all that stuff. And so I got a lot of masculine energy that makes me want to,
Yeah.
And I turned around and I said, well, I'm a single dad of 3. So according to your theory, I should be hanging out at gay bars and liking men and dressing up in dresses and all of that stuff. Because, hey, since I was a single dad of 3, I had to step into a lot of feminine energy. So that should make me feminine?
Nah. Yeah, no.
Yeah, she didn't like that. She didn't like that. For the people out there that's probably thinking, for someone who wanted to learn numerology, is there any book suggestions that you have? Or how would you suggest somebody learn?
One, follow me because I will be hosting. I literally just hosted a workshop today, and I'll be hosting more soon. Right. But also, I'm also going to be starting classes soon as well. If you want to learn numerology personally from me.
All right.
But also books that I've read. Lloyd Strayhorn's Numbers in You. That's the first book that I read on numerology. Now, the other book that I read, Numerology in a Divine Triangle. Those are probably the top 2. I read King Simon's books as well. One of his books that I read was Numerovation for Mental Stability, which focuses more so on like mental health, certain numbers that are more prone to mental health issues. So that's another one that I like. And he also has another book as well called Numbers Are Simple. What is it called? No.
Actually, does numerology get into like medical stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Like certain people based off of the day that you're born, and also your life path number. It's just certain things that you're gonna be more prone to based off that. Like with me being born on the 24th, I'm gonna be more prone to things like heart and chest issues, and also eye problems as well.
Mm.
and issue in the hips.
Mm.
But see, I also correlate that to, and that's the thing, right? So looking at my family, I can also correlate that to the numbers. My grandmother, my grandmother she was a wide hip person, right? She was also born on February 6th. So it's like I kind of already seen it. Like it was like, the creator, the most high put me here. And so I can be very observant. Again, a life path 7, sit back and observe everything. And so now I can see everything that has taken place, and I can associate with the numbers based on the body parts, based on health issues and things like that. My grandmother, she died from heart complications.
Mm. All right. So I have one last question for you.
Absolutely.
Now, I started learning astrology. Well, I was reading and all that, but where the rubber hit the road was I was doing ride share, Uber and Lyft in Atlanta, and I did that for 2 years.
Yeah.
And one day I picked this guy up from the airport, and he got in the car, and he was a Buddhist monk. And so now I'm driving this Buddhist monk to his house. I actually wrote a blog about it, but being that what I'm into and all of that.
Yeah.
And being that I was out of it, and this dude was going to school to get his master's degree or doctorate degree, master, whatever, in divination. Not divination, theology, something like that.
Okay.
And so I turned to the guy and I said, "Hey, what is Buddhism? What's Buddhism?" And he said, "That's the wrong question." I said, "Oh, well, what is the right question?" And he told me the right question to ask. And so I'm going to ask you the right question.
Okay.
What has numerology done for you?
I think for me, it has given me a tool to be of service. It's like, to me, I see numerology as a GPS, a very detailed GPS. It tells me when there's going to be obstacles on the road. It tells me when there's potholes. It tells me when there's police sitting by, meaning times that I need to slow down. It tells me when there's going to be traffic. So it tells me when I'm getting to a challenge where I got to make some decisions, whether I want to get off the expressway or stay on and endure the traffic and endure the pain. It tells me times that I'm going the wrong way, which I always think that we're going the right way, but sometimes it's like, hey, you on a detour, like it's time to get back on. You on these side streets, it's time to get back on where you need to get back onto. But also, I think, if anything, numerology, if there's a creator to all of this, a design to all of this, mathematics and numbers show that it's something outside of us that exists. I don't think that these traits that are in these characteristics that are associated with these numbers are just by somebody's own doing. I think that it was meant to be found. So it shows that, God exists.
Has it made a difference in your life?
Oh, 1000%. And just because I think the biggest thing is the self-awareness alone. The self-awareness alone, knowing what parts of my life, again.
How many people you think struggle with that?
Self-awareness?
Yes. If we grab 10 random people, how many out of that 10 you think would be self-aware?
Would be self-aware?
Yeah.
Maybe 3.
Mm.
Maybe 3.
And you being generous?
And probably because it's not to shit on people, but people don't understand their triggers. Maybe by a certain age, but even then, if I talk to older men, who should have the understanding that you have a feminine and a masculine side, some may get offended. Some are still very closed-minded and don't know how to see things outside of their own perspective. And so that's what is like, you're not even aware that you're limiting yourself just by your own thought process. So, and it reminded me when I hopped into someone's live on TikTok one day, and the conversation was based on men's mental health. I went in that room, I stayed for about 10 minutes and I had to leave out. I made some statements about mental health, and yeah, it was not appreciated. So it showed me that, people, you're not even aware of your own triggers. You don't even realize the traumas and the hurt that you're still carrying around.
Yeah.
So, and the way, and they take that and they carry that into their relationships. For me, I'm able to take a step back. I'm able to just take a step back. I say, all right, Raymond, I know I apply the numbers to a lot, but there are times I take a step back. I say, okay, Raymond, what's the energy of the day? Are you coming off like a bully? In my relationship, I'd be like, are you coming off like a bully right now? Are you not being very understanding right now to what's taking place? So it's allowed me to gave me that point where I can just stop and see and get my awareness.
I know I said I ain't had no more questions, but after you said that, I got one more. Would you not date someone because of their numerology?
No, I wouldn't.
You know how people could use that as
no, I wouldn't. Right. I think things can work out, but again, there's a low vibration and a high vibration side to these numbers.
All right.
And that's what I based off of. Where are you at? Where are you at on these numbers? What muscles still need to be worked out? What muscles need to go into the gym that you are unwilling to even go to the gym about? That type of thing. So I think that's where it comes into play at.
All right. Any final words you want to give about numerology, and how could people get in contact with you or see you to get a reading and all of that?
So the best thing, any final words? I don't. A few. I think one thing when it comes to numerology, I don't feel that people should have to understand it and know it the way I know it. But I still think at some basic level you should. Even not for yourself, but for your family. Like think about the tool. When people say, I want to be able to give my child their head start, I want to be able to give my family their head start, this is a way to do it. Yeah, you got to let children be children and things like that. But if you can say, you know what, okay, this is my child's life path. I know what the type of things I should keep around them. I know how to approach them with an open mind. I should understand that this gives me better insights to their triggers. I know the energy that's been missing inside of my family that I need to bring back in. So I think it's even the aspects, but also if you're some form of a coach, a mentor, and where you have other people, this can also be a great tool that you can utilize, right? If you're a life coach and you understood numerology, well, you now know how to better work with your client. You better have a better understanding of the person that you work with. You have a better understanding of their strengths and weaknesses. So so for me, it's like people should be open-minded and having somewhat of a basic understanding to it.
All
right. And how you can find me is I'm most on, I say TikTok because that's where I'm at. Raymond _369. There are fake pages out there, but Raymond _369. That is me. I would never I would never message you. I would never DM you telling you that I'm a psychic or anything like that. But I do go live. So you know me, I go live, and I try to go live often so those fake pages can't mimic me. But also, if you want, just email me, Raymond Durr Numerology. Raymond Durr Numerology @gmail.com.
All right. That's DURR.
Yes.
All right. I want to thank you for joining me on this episode. And thank you for teaching us. Everybody know how I end this. Know thyself and balance your energy.
Started off with questions, and then it's number 2. Things on my mind, why this, why that, what should we do? The questions led to searching, these diving into seeking. Profiles are getting leaking, these niggas get to tweaking. You don't be get to preaching, you don't be telling me that my fate is in the stars, you read my energy. You got the recipe to get the ecstasy. I'm shifting gears on the things that you won't believe. Now people don't deceive, they stars on Christmas Eve. It's from the start, that's why you trap, you stuck, you cannot leave. You best be on your knees, confess your sins of boo. Don't have no question, have the face you trust, you told the truth. You think you can't be slanted, you think it's just be planted. It's warfare, the bombs explode, collateral damage. I manage to maintain, to explain. We here to evolve, but ain't a damn thing changed.
I am astrology reading, man. I have a question. 2, 1, 2. Whatever should we do? What? You diving in the seeking. Splash. These niggas get to tweaking. You don't be telling me. Who are you, man? You read my energy. You get the ecstasy on the thing that you won't believe. 1, 2, 3. You stuck, you can't go nowhere, man. Confess your sins, don't put on your knees. You trust, you told the truth. You think? Slanted, planets, collateral damage. I manage. We here to evolve, but ain't a damn thing change. I am astrology reading, man. I have a question.